Hello, hello.
Hello,
How
how are
are you
you?
today, Ms. Helton?
We are excited to learn more about Lumas.
That's awesome. How did you hear about us?
We purchased it we looked at it last summer, summer before last,
Oh, cool.
um, because we were looking for something for IAR prep support for our teachers. Um, and so we purchased it in February of last year. So this is our 1 year with it.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Okay. And we have the startup, the step up.
Step up.
Because yeah, I've learned that you have 3 or 4 versions, right?
We
Coach
do have a few versions.
360. Yeah, we have the step up, and we've been supporting our teachers in implementation, but the training we've received hasn't really helped us support those teachers because, like, for example, lesson details doesn't show up until kids finish their Unit 1 test.
Right.
And teachers are struggling with grading. They don't feel like the Lumos examples is really helping them make good use of the grading practice that's required, right, for math and ELA. So we just want to dig in some more to make sure we're presenting Lumos in the best possible way to get the best experience for everybody.
No, I totally get it. And I want to
Okay.
make sure that you guys feel the same way about the way you're adopting the tool, implementing the tool. If there's a way that maybe we could get another training scheduled with your teachers to understand, first, we'd probably maybe send them like a Google form to understand what their questions are. And then we can dive more deeper into like a solid training that answers all their questions and keeps them on track for the rest of the year. Because I think this is a crucial time, right, where we want to give them that second practice test and get the remedials going and stuff. So how far have we gotten through the cycle so far? Have we taken the first practice test?
Most of them, I would say yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Cool. Can you remind me the name of your school as well? It is Matson Elementary School, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
159.
Nice. So I'll make sure somebody from our team reaches out to you about another training because it sounds like the teachers have played around. Most of the kids have used the tool. There are some very specific questions that we should be able to answer in terms of like, how do I do this next? Or, what do I need to do with this information? And we'd be more than happy to help there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hi, I'm Kelly. We've worked together before. I actually spoke to one of your teachers yesterday, and I think I sent her my calendar. But I will follow up with that and send you my calendar as well so we can get that going.
You're Miss Stratton?
I am. How are
Oh,
you?
okay. Yes, I don't believe we've ever met in person, but I
Not in
have been,
person, yes.
yes,
We've been
good,
back and
emailing
forth.
you because our contract expires soon, and we
Soon. So
wanted
I
to.
actually was able to get that prorated ready for you. I thought Samantha had sent it yesterday, but I will double check it. If not, I will send it right after this call.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Nice.
glad you're here. Nice to meet you in person. Well, online.
This is why we love to do these calls. Thank you so much, Ms. Jordan, Ms. Gray, Ms. Wofford, everybody for joining. We're excited to have you here today. Today, I was thinking we could talk a little bit about admin reports, the what we offer at Lumos, kind of show you around what our reporting looks like, understand what admins really need, what they're looking for, especially during this time of year. And I decided to title this session From Gut Feel to Ground Truth, Why Reporting Matters for School Leaders. Not going to bore you guys with all of this basic information. I will go through it very quickly, but reporting is super, super essential. We need to know whether students are actually improving. We need to know when to intervene, how to intervene, and all of this has to be done in a strategic way that ensures that teachers are supported, just like Ms. Helton was talking about, her teachers feeling like they don't have the right answers right now or they don't know how to use the tool. We got to make sure that there's enough information available to make these decisions and the tools that we use to support this decision making. We need to know how to use them. They have to be useful. We can't just, purchase a tool and hope that it works well. We, as the people offering that tool, we need to make sure that your teachers are actually getting some type of use out of it. All that data has to mean something. And without reporting, a lot of the time we're just going off of anecdotes of different, classroom walkthroughs, or we may just look at the test results from the end of the previous year. We may have very, very isolated teacher feedback, those one or two teachers who are super, super interested. They may come forward and say something. Or it may just be based on gut instinct. What do we feel is going to work in that moment? And honestly, I think there are some insane struggles here where we put in a little bit more effort, we're going to solve the problem. But honestly, I'm not so sure it's just about effort there, right? And I think Alicia, our director of customer success, she was talking to me a little earlier about some of those insane struggles that she's seen across her years of experience with data collection, data interpretation, and so many other issues around how to utilize data in a smart way. Alicia, if you want to share a little bit, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. One and specifically, and hi everyone. I am Alicia Joy. I'm so delighted to join everyone today. Thank you so much for making time for this. I know you all have more things on your plate than I could count. I really, really appreciate you setting aside time for this. So prior to my work with Lumos, I worked with a little company called Discovery Education that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. I was their head of customer success for 5 years there. So I worked with schools, districts from across the US. We also had a large international contingent. And something that we saw often, to Vivek's point, there's often so much information available. There's lots of reports, there's lots of data points. But what do you actually need either in the classroom or in the administrative office? Like, what is actually helping you? And one of the things that we were hearing time and time again is it's really lovely to see, yes, we got the program implemented in this classroom or the school, whatever it might be, but are the students and teachers using it? Can we see that they're actually using it? We've made this investment. We've decided to invest time, money, resources, training. Are they using the tool? Because, you can lead a horse to water, as it were, but you cannot make them use the tool that you've purchased for them. So are they using it? Are they using it the way that we want them to? So what we did at Discovery, and specifically what we're doing here at Lumos, is we're making it very easy to see. So let's say we have a student, Jared. We're going to take a student, Jared. I was thinking of Subway sandwiches earlier today, so that Jared name is in my mind. So Jared is a student. He's within one of our classrooms. One of our teachers has assigned Jared to do, practice test 1, practice test 2, whatever. You can see whether or not Jared has started to take that test. You can see as soon as Jared is finished how he did on that test, what remediation he has been assigned. Has he started that remediation? Does he have, was he feeling a lot of challenge on that test and got a lot of remediation and he's just frozen and he's decided, oh gosh, I have 30 remedial assignments. I can't possibly do this. That's when the teacher can go, okay, I can see he's struggling. I'm going to step in. Lumos is really designed to walk the students through it, but we all know there are students in situations that are going to need a little more handholding, a little more personal support. And Lumos makes it easier for the teachers within the classrooms and also for the administrators to identify who those students are. And something I really love, and Vivek, I know this is not the question that you asked, but something that I really, really love about Lumos and the reporting. So within any given classroom, let's say you have 30 students and your class may be larger or smaller, but we'll average it out at 30 students. And they've all taken this practice test 1. The teachers can actually see specifically which areas students were excelling in or experiencing challenges in. So the teacher can then use that information to break the students into study groups or resource groups. And we can say, okay, you're really struggling with this particular aspect of this particular thing. Or, wow, you actually did amazing. Can you come and be the head of this study group and kind of act as a mentor for them? So it can really help with your classroom organization when you're thinking of which students to put in which groups, how to organize the classroom, and who really, really needs extra support so that the teacher is using their time the most wisely. Because again, it is so precious. That time is so, so precious. So that's something I've seen. I'm really interested to know if anyone on this call who's within a school has looked at those reports to see where students are and has noticed any sort of trend or any sort of help, or if it's also okay to say, gosh, I've never even looked at that before.
I
Well,
am familiar with it, but I have not reviewed it at this
That's
point.
okay. No wrong answers. We are happy to teach you everything. And honestly, knowing that you haven't reviewed it or maybe even don't know how to find it, that's helpful to us as well, because we can connect with you after the call and make sure you know exactly where to find that information.
Rochelle and I actually conducted a PD at a school at 8 o'clock this morning and were able to share that we looked at a particular teacher's reports and showed that 53% of her class were proficient in this standard and how she could make that informed decision on what to do with that data. Now let's look at
Oh,
this
wow.
this other group of students who weren't proficient in this standard and support them. So we were able to look at that and provide, immediate feedback on how teachers in this school who hasn't really used it as much could use the platform. So that
That
was
is
That's
very
so
amazing.
insightful.
cool. I love that. That is really, really great to hear. I'm so glad we were able to support there. And everything everyone's saying is exactly opposite to what's on the screen. We do not want to go by gut feeling. We do not want to go by one teacher's feedback. We want to see everything and in as much detail as possible. And I don't even think we need to go into this because everything we talked about, identifying struggles before testing, making sure that we get every single grade level, every single standard, covering the gaps that are required. It's all about just making sure that we have the right information to help us be proactive instead of just reacting later on after the fact. I've had the distinct privilege of working with several administrators across the state of Illinois, across the state of New Jersey, New York, and they've really been helping me understand some of the core questions that administrators ask when they go into our admin portal. I think we have so much information that is extremely useful, but we haven't really packaged it together in a way where you get the direct answer for the questions that you see on the screen. And with your help, we're really working on building the perfect tool where you don't need to go to multiple different windows to find answers to these questions. And if you feel like you have any inputs, if you'd like to be part of those usability studies, tell us more about what kind of features you'd like to see, how you'd like things to change. Please feel free to reach out to me. You can drop your email address in the chat, and I will send you, an email campaign where we could work together. But after all of this talking, after all of these interviews, I feel like principals care about which students need help. They care where there are gaps. I think those are the key answers of where are we at, what is missing, and what do we need to do next to make sure we can fill those gaps. And I think we do have a couple administrators here. How do you feel about these three core questions? Do you feel like there's something we're missing out, or do you feel pretty good about how we're trying to pivot here? Ms. Helton's nodding.
I think those are great questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
But I just want to make sure that we're reducing the
Exactly.
noise in the reports that we provide. I think we want to make sure that what you're seeing is more insight and less noise. And the three different views that we want to try to show you today, especially during the demonstration of what we do have currently, is that student level. Then how you can kind of get in there, intervene at the right time, show you the classroom, the grade level, and then take it a notch up and show you that school level. So on our dashboard, we'll show you how you start off at level 3, and then we work our way to the left, where we kind of drill down deeper and deeper as we go into multiple reports. Now, why this is very difficult is different in today's context versus why it was difficult before, I think. We have Kelly here as well. Her and I were kind of chatting earlier about, she's been a teacher for Kelly, how long have you been a teacher before you were here at Lumos?
Oh my gosh, I started teaching 24 years ago.
Okay, so you've been
Making me
around the
old.
block.
A little
How
bit.
hard was it before, like before data collection tools even entered the scene in education institutions? What did we do and how did we kind of make our decisions?
I mean, not to make myself sound old, but we were doing this before we had email. We weren't using internet in the classrooms. Um, I was writing my lesson plans by hand, which I miss, and I still do everything by hand today whenever possible. But I feel like a lot of it was mentorship, learning from experienced teachers, working closely with your team, working closely with your supervisor. It was a lot more hands-on. Not that it isn't now as much, but a lot of it is online meetings, especially since COVID. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a lot more hands-on with your team. For me personally, I started my career as a music teacher before I switched to tech. And for us, it was a lot about those wins with your students, right? Getting that aha moment, them all coming together, being able to play a piece together. And I think that can go with any subject, really, those aha moments, being able to hit those milestones. We still had our standards, we still had the milestones we wanted to hit before those tests, but there's definitely a lot more pressure on teachers now than there was a little over 20 years ago, for sure.
No, and along with all of those pressure, along with all that pressure, they have way too many tools, way too many reports, and I
Mhm.
think none of those tools and reports really answer the question of what next and like, what do I do with all this? So
Right, absolutely.
it was fatigue then, and I think it's fatigue now, just with a lot of added pressure and added noise. But
Definitely.
overall, like Alicia said earlier, we're doing our best to help, and I'd love to show you guys how the admin portal works. Before we jump into all of that, I would love to stop for a second if there are any major questions that we can answer. If there are any issues in your school, we do have support on the line, and they're more than happy to jump in and help if there's anything that we can take care of right away. But if there's nothing else, I will stop sharing my screen for a second. Kelly, can you quickly confirm that you're seeing the login page?
I sure do.
Awesome.
And while
Great.
you're doing that, Ms. Wolford, if you could just clarify, I saw you wrote who is using the platform usage ranges. Do you mind clarifying a little bit more what you're looking for with that, and we can help you out while we're on the call?
Sorry, that was a typo. Usage rates.
Oh, oh, got it, got it.
That was to the question earlier around like what do principals want to know. Sometimes they
Oh,
know
great.
what teachers simply aren't using it, or what teachers can we celebrate that they're meeting their weekly expectations that we set as a school um, for usage.
Nice. And
Let
that
me
is one thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to say we could start right there with exactly that question.
Because you're
Um,
on that page here.
We're on that page. So all I did was log in. We're on the dashboard now. And as soon as you log in, you can see who your most active teacher is and the least active teacher. And you can also toggle over to user activity view. And that's going to give you a slightly more detailed view of what exactly your teachers are doing, what kind of assignments they're pushing out. You can see everything in the table below. You can search for their name if you'd like to focus on one specific teacher. It is pretty intuitive, and most this information is about how many teachers are logging in. The activity that you see here is related to logins, and the activity you see below is related to the number of assignments that are actually going out to the students.
So that should be the first thing we see when we log in.
Yep. So as soon as you log in, you're going to see these bar graphs over here. These bar graphs give you a good overview of how the students performed on their latest practice test.
Okay, I
And
see it now.
directly below that, you're going to see how many sessions your most active teacher logged, along with how many sessions your least active teacher logged. But to your point, Ms. Whifford, is there anything else you would have liked to see in terms of activity, or do you feel like this is detailed enough, or what are your thoughts on this?
Um, I would say yes, it's detailed enough, and maybe seeing average minutes used somehow, I don't know, would be maybe a nice addition.
Interesting. Okay, we'll definitely look into that. Thank you. So in terms of actually like reading these reports and answering those three core questions of who needs help, what are the gaps, what do we need to do next? I love using lesson details. And Kelly, feel free to jump in and let me know. No, you're not doing it correctly. There are better ways because Kelly's much better at this than I am. But I love going into lesson details. So the front page is going to tell me who's active, have students been completing their practice tests, do we have any data to actually look at? And once I click into lesson details, I can go class by class. So if I'm going to focus on for my third grade classroom in math, I can quickly look at, oh, sorry about that. I can quickly look at this particular, the session one of a practice test. I can find out the average score of that class, look at how much time they're spending on things. I can quickly go into standard view to see how they're doing on different standards. And this is very helpful to sit down with a teacher and be like, all right, you can see all of this information here. So maybe you want to create a smaller group with the students that are struggling in certain standards. You could help them pinpoint a specific standard that they need to work on in their class. Like here, you can see 3OA5 is at 40% proficiency when compared to the other standards where the students are doing considerably better. You can also go into your benchmark report, which I think is fantastic for administrators because it helps you to measure growth. So apart from being able to help your teachers at an individual level where you go into each classroom, you see, identify standards where the students need help, you can also see where there's been growth. So if you go in and compare session one of practice test one to session one of practice test two, you can see, I mean, this is a demo account, so you're not seeing like actual numbers, but you can very easily see here how the students have grown, whether they've not grown at all, whether you need to go back and hit those same concepts again. But the comparison here is super, super helpful when you're trying to measure that growth. I think,
Vivek, do you mind if I add into that?
oh, please do.
Yeah. So if you could go back to lesson details, and I just want to go over, and a lot of the callers that are on today are, I'm your CSM. So if you want to go over this with me, let me know. I will send you my calendar. But I've met with a lot of customers since winter break to go over this. And I just want to go over again some of the really important features in this report. So the first one with question view. As an educator, the reason I like to use this report is to look at the question types and how the students are answering those questions. So if you look here, now this is a demo account, but you'll see on question, and I don't have my readers on, 7, it is a multiple choice, multiple answer. And you will see across the board in every school I've met with this week, multiple choice, multiple answer is one of the toughest questions for students to answer effectively. So by looking at this report, you can see which students are having trouble with this question type, and you can work on that in the classroom. Another one that's tough for our younger students is going to be that drag and drop question, just because of the dexterity of how to actually physically do that on a computer screen, especially our second and third graders taking these tests for the first time, depending on your state. Looking at that time analysis, back at the front. Yeah, thank you. This one I like to use, and I actually met with a school, Mullica Township in New Jersey last week, and we were looking at this with the third graders. I like looking at this report when you're looking, especially in ELA, at those stories they have to read before answering the questions and for those open-ended questions. And I like to see how much time is being spent reading the paragraph before answering the question. So if you see a student that has spent 7 seconds on 3 paragraphs and 2 questions, we know we need to maybe work on that a little bit better and working on that reading comprehension and actually paying attention to the portion they have to read. Also, with those open-ended and extended constructive response, you're going to see students that are spending way too much time thinking this out. And then you have the ones that are just quickly writing a response. So this is another time where you have the opportunity to work on time management and how much time we should be spending planning and writing these out for the actual test. Then when we look at standard view, we're able to look at that overall proficiency per standard. So you'll see the questions are grouped up by each standard. And this is where, if you have the TED books, this is where I love to use those, because you don't want to just kind of go willy-nilly through the book. Here I can isolate which students. So if I look at 3.0A.5, we have a 46%, 40% Again, I need my readers, but it's a very low percentage. And I have these three students here who are partially proficient. So as an educator, what I would do here is I would pull those students into a small group using the TED book so I can do more hands-on work with them while the rest of my students are working independently on the remediation that was automatically assigned. If I don't have the TED books, this is where I would then use the digital workbooks and create maybe an exit ticket or a bell ringer during the day with my students, or use our projector or smartboard features to do a full class lesson on that standard.
And just to clarify, our TED books are the printed workbooks. For anyone
Correct.
who's not familiar with that name.
Yes, which I am a big fan of the TED books. I used them with my kids before I even worked here. I had the summer books that we have, which is something we'll talk about when we get closer. But I am a big proponent. Again, I started teaching before the internet, so well, it was available, but not in my school. But I do love our TED books for that purpose.
So the two educators on the call, I'm curious to know your thoughts on whether you feel like this is actually answering the questions that you have when you go in to view these results, or if you still feel like there's something lacking or there's maybe not enough clarity. I know that we're looking at only dummy data today on the screen, but in terms of functionality, I am very curious to hear your thoughts or if you feel like there's anything more we could be doing here. Oh,
You
cool.
know, I'm browsing our data that I haven't touched all year, and I kind of thought this is what I would see, which is very little activity because I feel like our teachers are using the books. And
Okay.
so there's no way to track the data. However, now that we are less than 60 days out from our ELA assessment, and our math IR assessment, I think I'm going to push them to use the platform because students do need to have the ability and functionality of how to maneuver online to answer these questions, especially our third graders who may not have used it before. Like I know we take WEA online, but that's a different level, right? They're not typing responses to text message to passages, or they're not